All right, welcome everybody. I wanted to make this quick video. I am using a different software from last week. I think this will go a little bit better. This is 3E Thursday, Equip, Engage, Empower. I wanted to start doing more videos for the community at whole. And some of these videos, like 3E Thursday, I want to actually go tactical. I want to help you guys understand the most important pieces to how is it that you get results. How is it that you can ultimately be empowered to be proud of what and who you see in the mirror? Okay, last Thursday, go back and watch that video if you haven't watched it yet. How I went over like the fundamentals of building a foundation for training, how to properly program so that you can recover best. There's a couple principles there that I went over with regards to the daily undulating periodizations, the 6 primary movements, the 3 parameters, muscle endurance, short, hypertrophy, max strength. I built you a little triangle, a fun triangle. And so I want you to go back and go over that. But the other 2 that I mentioned that I actually didn't deep dive into was sleep and stress management / recovery, and then the food choices and nutrition. And so today, actually, I'm going to go over the food choices and nutrition. Next week will be the stress management, the sleep, and the recovery with regards to that. So there's a couple things that I wanted to touch base on. I'm not going to make this video incredibly long. You're not going to be watching an hour-long video here. I actually wanted to hone in on what I've seen over the last 7 years be the most important principles that you can both get started with, but always come back to. I think that's something we don't really talk much about is, okay, there's a getting started, getting momentum, but then what if you are somebody who's been here for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and you need something to be able to hang your hat on, and these are things that probably your client success representative has spoken to you about, or maybe I have, that you can always come back to. So when it comes to the nutrition side of things, okay, it always, before I start getting into the principles, I do just want to say, it always will be true that yes, while nutrition, quote unquote, can get you the results that you want to get to, right? Like, oh, people always say, oh, 80-20 rule. Working out is 20%, nutrition is 80%. I actually operate under a different paradigm. The belief I operate under, and this is working with thousands of clients, this is doing this for 7 years, I operate under this belief that says, actually, with nutrition, it's 80% psychological, 80% behavior-based, behavior-driven, just habit-driven, and it's 20% of like, okay, what are the actual principles? What should I actually do? I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with people who know generally what to do, but then they have trouble doing it. So I don't want to gloss over that. I do want to deep dive into the tactics of, like I'm going to talk about awareness, winning versus failing, protein, carbohydrates, and whole food versus overly processed. Those are a great place to start. But at the same time, just understand, I do recognize that it's the actually doing it part that is the most difficult piece of nutrition, okay? Everybody knows vegetables are good for you, but who actually eats enough vegetables, right? And so digging into the tactics, though, and the principles with regards to your food choices, with regards to your nutrition, your diet, okay? Number 1 is your awareness. Do you even have awareness? Again, hundreds, actually thousands of times, definitely thousands of times, I have spoken with somebody, a client, or even a prospect, and they're like, I eat pretty good. I'm eating well. And then when I actually have them write down every single thing that they are eating, they realize that they're having 2 drinks of alcohol a day. They're realizing that they're eating out 5 times a week. They're realizing that they think that eating a healthy breakfast means like a piece of fruit and then a piece of toast. That's not a healthy breakfast, by the way. So the idea is that you need to track in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying you have to do this every day for the rest of your life, but we as CSRs, to support you, we need to know where you're starting out at. And the principle is, if you start tracking, you're actually going to be able to see where you're living at, what is actually happening. Okay, whether it's a 3-day or a 7-day journal. If you do it every day, that's fine. But some people need to get started with 1 day or 3 days or 7 days. Okay, so awareness psychologically can help us improve, and it can always be a great place to start. If you're struggling and you're like, well, I haven't been tracking anything, that could be a great place to start. So, you know, I'm going to commit myself to tracking for 3 days, and then I'm going to turn it into my CSR. Second thing, winning versus failing. So this principle is ultimately, as human beings, our ability to, we just create this big old to-do list of 10 to 20 things, and then we do none of them. Or We choose one thing, two things, at most three things, and then we just do a really good job at those 1 to 3 things. So our job here at EP is to partner with you to say, look, you might think you need to do these 10 to 15 things, but here are the big pieces. Here's the 1 to 3 things that when you focus on these cornerstone items, you will be successful. Okay. We want you to be in a state of winning. And then over time, yes, we're going to get done with 10 to 15, 20 things, but that's over time. You should not start out with 10 to 20 things to do every single stinking day. Okay. You should just focus on the big movers that are going to get you the best results, but also allow you to feel like you're winning at all times. Okay. That's number 2. Number 3, chronically, this is what happens. And I can speak with confidence. Again, I'm not just saying this because this is what I think. Not only does the research show this, but my practical experience and feedback that I get from clients constantly over the last 7 years shows me that everyone should increase their consumption of lean protein. Okay. Not talking about like the super fatty protein, like the ribeye where you're getting 80 grams of protein, but also getting 80 grams of fats. Okay. I'm talking about finding lean protein options that you enjoy eating, or at least you can say, okay, I'm going to challenge myself and increase, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but you can actually change your taste buds. You can increase in your, in how much you like certain foods. So sure, you may not like protein powder. Who cares? Go eat chicken. Okay. You don't like chicken. That's fine. Go eat turkey. Okay. You don't like turkey. Go eat bison. Okay. You don't like bison. That's fine. Go eat tuna. Okay. You don't like tuna. Go eat some egg whites. You don't like egg whites. Okay. Like there's a lot of different options out there. You can eat beef jerky. You can eat you got to find the lean protein options that you can hang your hat on and eat more of. You can go get 85, 90% like ground beef. Okay. If you need help with this, again, your CSR can create that list for you and figure out how many of those proteins you actually like. Maybe you like cottage cheese. Maybe you like yogurt, Greek yogurt, whatever that is. But increasing that is usually a pretty good principle and a place on where to start, okay? It might mean substituting certain really fatty meats for some leaner meats. You may already be eating some fatty meats, and now we just need to substitute those, okay? Protein is literally magic. I just don't really think you can eat enough lean protein. Like, and when I say that, it's like, there's no way you're going to go and accidentally eat 300 grams of lean protein. You will be way too full. You're going to get sick to your stomach. So there's just no way to accidentally do it. Most people come in eating 40 to 60 grams, 40 to 50 grams of lean protein, and just totally under eating that. Okay. Next principle for us is carbohydrate spectrum. Understand that carbs are not evil. Carbohydrates falls on a spectrum. You have kale, right? And some of these veggies that are primarily carbohydrates as far as the macronutrient goes. And then you have candy, you have Smarties, you have, I don't know, licorice. Like that's primarily carbohydrates on the macronutrient spectrum, okay? And so like, but the nutrient density difference is night and day, okay? Here's the example I always use. Imagine for one moment, I have a piece of broccoli and I have a wheat thin, okay? Or maybe just like a piece of candy. If broccoli was the only way I got my carbs over the next 30 years, okay, versus if this piece of candy, these Skittles, was the only way I got my carbohydrates over the 30 years, you would have drastically different health outcomes, okay, but you're eating carbs both ways, right? It may not make that big of a difference in one meal. Oh, instead of broccoli, I'm just gonna have, the wheat thins or the Skittles or whatever. They're both carbs, but over the long haul, it's going to make a huge difference, literally a life or death difference. Okay, so understand that principle and be equipped with that knowledge of saying, okay, when should I have the starches, the carbohydrates that are rice, okay, breads, noodles? When should I have the carbohydrates that are fruits, okay? I hate it when people demonize fruits. Fruits are extremely nutrient dense. They are going to give you so many vitamins, phytonutrients, minerals. They're incredible. Should you eat them just on their own? Absolutely not. But I would never eat carbohydrates without protein anyway. So again, understand that carbohydrates is a spectrum. Understand that in the principle of things, you are looking to increase the nutrient density of your carbohydrates, okay? And choose your foods accordingly. And again, if you have questions with that, the carbohydrate spectrum, we can help you further with that, okay, and drill down into that. Okay, and then lastly, okay, the last principle that I want to share with you guys in terms of, okay, where to get started, whole food versus overly processed, okay? And here's what I mean by that. Many of us are eating out too much, plain and simple. Whenever you eat out, there's probably way more salt than there needs to be. There's way more fats than there needs to be, whether it's butter or just fattiness in the sauces or the fattiness in the meats or whatever like that. And honestly, the nutrient density is just way, 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 way lower than foods that you are making, okay? And the idea is this: once the food has been pulled from its source, whether it's meat from the animal, whether it's the plants, when it's pulled out of the ground, the moment that it gets pulled out of its environment to where it can be replenished nutrient-wise, it is beginning to lose nutrients. Oxygen does that to food. It's just going to continually decrease in quality. So whole food versus overly processed, okay? Like, just imagine how long it's been. How long has that food been away from its source of life, okay? And then that's how much less nutrient dense it will be, okay? I say whole food versus overly processed because if you go buy little tiny baby carrots at the store, those are technically still processed foods, right? Yeah, it's whole food, but it's still processed in a way. And you can definitely have baby carrots. I'm saying overly processed in terms of, is it processed 3 times, 4 times, 5 times? Has it been months since it's been in its environment where it's receiving nutrients? Like, what are we talking about here? Okay, we're talking about, okay, you know, a meat that has been on the shelf for a week or two versus a meat where you slaughter the cow out back, okay, which is going to have more nutrients. Okay, the one where literally the cow was alive yesterday. Okay, I think inherently we know this, but I want you guys to use this as a principle to say, okay, if I'm eating out 5 times a week, I could probably get drastically better results eating out 2 times a week. I didn't tell you to go to 0, but I am telling you to decrease that as a principle, okay? And these things can be very quick wins. So again, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I am really hoping that this recorded so I don't have to do this again. So yeah, I'm gonna find out right now if it did that. Let's see. Hope everybody has a great day.